Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining me. We're going to be talking about the X Factor vitamin in cheese on this podcast. And if you'd like, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to this podcast if this is something that you're interested in. We try to do them every week on Tuesday, and then you'll get notified in your inbox, and I appreciate it. But mostly I just want to help you get better and feel better about yourself. So these podcasts aren't very long. I just give you a little bit of information to try to help you understand how your microbiome works and how important it is and the things you can do to make it healthier. So on this podcast, we're going to be talking about that X factor in cheese. And most people don't know about this, but it's a very significant thing that can help you really change the way you look at the food that you eat. So let's first start talking about raw milk cheeses. They're kind of a bigger deal now. They used to not be, but the rewards of making your own cheese are by far worth the effort, and it's easier than you think because I do it all the time. And it was thought that cheese was first discovered around 8000 BC. Milk curds were strained and salt was added to help with preservation, and this gave birth to what we now know as cheese. When I was a little girl, maybe around 6 years old, one of my favorite excursions was going to a cheese store with my dad. He would prop me up on barrels in the cheese store, and the owners of the shops would feed me all kinds of cheeses, and then they would ask me which ones I liked. And they were always so surprised when I liked the really strong, tasty cheeses. My dad would laugh at me and buy me my favorite ones. And, they would wrap it up in that white parchment paper with a little string around it. And I loved carrying that cheese out of the store. And I would take it home and have some later. I'd ask my dad to give me some because I loved to watch him unwrap it. And it was so funny because I was just really little and I just got the biggest kick out of it. And I really loved it too. And from that day to this, I have had a love affair with cheese. Flash forward many years later, and probiotic foods changed not only my health, but my life. And I was on a never-ending search to find foods that were filled with probiotics, and that included cheese. Most cheeses in the markets have been pasteurized, making them devoid of good bacteria because that heat will kill all the good bacteria in the cheese. And I love that. I love that they've come out with raw milk cheeses now, which they've had for years, but there was a time when they quit telling people to make them that way. Now, there are certain countries that still make them that way and never quit making them that way. France always made the raw milk cheeses. Many places still made them. But during the war, when, the men went off to war, this was World War II and even World War I believe, there was, not as many workers and conditions got bad and things weren't as clean and weren't kept as sterilized as they needed to be. And then people started getting sick. And that's when they developed pasteurization to help people from getting diseases that were caused by uncleanly conditions. And, pasteurization, that was why it was invented, was to kill pathogens in milk and also in cheese too. But when they did that, it also impacts the microorganisms responsible for the complex taste, the aromas, and it removes all the good bacteria that helps those bugs in your gut thrive. The dangers associated with unpasteurized milk, such as Salmonella, E. coli, Listeria, they aren't what they used to be if the milk is handled correctly. Raw milk cheeses are making a huge comeback because science has progressed and we've gotten smarter and we know how to do things. Raw milk and raw milk cheeses abound in enzymes that help you to digest your fats and proteins. They help so many things when you have those special enzymes and special bacteria in there. And when the food you eat has an abundance of enzymes and bacteria, then the digestive system is not overtaxed. It doesn't strain it. And we have a lot of foods we eat nowadays, a lot of processed foods, a lot of foods that are missing those powerful enzymes that are naturally occurring in fruits and vegetables and raw foods. And without those, it's really hard. It taxes our system a lot. When we eat, our digestion has to work a lot harder. Raw milk cheeses are making a comeback, and they are showing up everywhere, and they are full of flavor. And you can even get them at regular grocery stores now. And they taste so much better. You need less to be satisfied, just smaller amounts. And the body really does very, very well with them. Raw milk cheeses are making a comeback. You can find them so many places. They're showing up everywhere. I see them at my regular grocery stores now. And my husband gets really excited when he finds them for me because now it used to be that you could just only find like one flavor. Well, now they have a lot of different flavors and people are making them many different ways. And they are so delicious. In March 2009, U.S. News and World reported stating that the consumption of raw milk and cheeses, the cheese that is made from raw milk, may significantly lower the symptoms of allergic reactions such as asthma, hay fever, and eczema. And this is due to the many good bacteria in these foods. Cheeses made from raw milk is aged at a minimum of 60 days by current law, and that makes a big difference in the safety of these cheeses. And it also makes it taste really delicious. Okay, so here's what's in cheese that's so interesting. Cheese is loaded with vitamin K2, which is being referred to as the X factor by Dr. Weston Price. And Dr. Weston Price, if you don't know about him, I used to be a chapter leader for the Weston Price Foundation for like 10 years. It was like a volunteer thing that I did. It's a big organization. It's really how I found Kefir. I read the book Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon. And that book was so life-changing for me. That's how I found Kefir. And I became a chapter leader. I helped people, 10 years, find raw milk in my area when I lived in Kansas City. And it had such a huge impact on my life when we switched to drinking raw milk and making raw milk cheeses. It was really life-saving for me and my family. And I loved making my kefir with it. And it was just a really wonderful time. It was a lot of learning that I did. And Dr. Weston Price he was kind of the Isaac Newton of nutrition. He traveled the world in the early 20th centuries, studying the relationship between diet and diseases in different populations. And he was on a constant search to find the causes of like dental decay and physical degeneration that he observed in his dental practice. His findings discovered that the non-industrial diets were high in some unidentifiable nutrient, which seemed to provide protection against tooth decay and many chronic diseases. And he referred to this mystery nutrient as the activator X, the X factor, which he now believed to have been vitamin K2. And most of the people believe that the benefits of vitamin K2 are limited to its role in blood clotting, and that vitamin K1 and K2 are simply different forms of the same vitamin with the same functions. However, the role of vitamin K2 in the body extends far beyond blood clotting, and may help in the prevention of chronic diseases. Vitamin K2 has as many functions not associated with vitamin K1, and so many that the researchers insist that vitamin K1 and vitamin K2 are best seen as two different vitamins entirely. Now, most people are deficient and not getting enough vitamin K2. And when I first discovered this, I think my family was very low in this. And I started adding things that had vitamin K2 into it, and I saw a huge change in my family. All the members of my family started to get better in many different areas. And vitamin K2 is called menaquinone. It is predominantly a microbial origin. That's what it mostly is. The K2 is produced by your gut bacteria in your large intestine, and many researchers suspect that broad-spectrum antibiotics contribute to a K2 deficiency. Now, cultured foods such as sauerkraut, cheese, and natto contain large amounts of vitamin K2, and the body easily absorbs them. And you need to thank your microbes that are in that food and in your body for that ability to absorb so much of it. Vitamin K is also found in butter from cows who graze on grasses. So that's different than the regular butter you buy in the store. When cows eat rapidly growing fast grass where the grass is lush and green, they get a lot of vitamin K2 in their gut that allows it to transfer to us. When you drink it or eat it, you get that in your gut. And things like wheatgrass and alfalfa in a lush green state of growth, but commercial butter just doesn't have that high source of vitamin K2 in it. And it's really interesting because I think it's in the Swiss Alps that they used to have every year when the grasses were really green. They would call that the richest source of time to get the milk from the cows because it would prevent the most diseases because they would get so much vitamins and nutrients from the cows that were eating the fast-growing grass that they would make a special celebration during that time of year when the cows were producing this high vitamin milk. And it was they would have a kind of a festival about it. And that was, tradition for many, many years. I don't know that it still happens, but it's interesting because it was something that the body really needs. And it was very high in vitamins. Now, I don't know how they knew that, but for some reason, they knew that when they consumed those products from the cow during that time of year, nobody got sick. Everybody stayed healthier longer. And it was always when the cows were eating that lush green grass. So they made a big thing about it. So here are the health benefits of vitamin K2. It has been shown to reduce the risk of prostate cancer by 35%. And I have the research for that. And there's a lot of research on that. And I'll link that in the article in the description below. But it not only does it help, reduce the risk of prostate cancer by 35%, it also protects against leukemia and might even be used as a treatment for leukemia in the future. And you'll have to look at the reference on that. It's really interesting. Vitamin K2 may also protect us from heart disease by reducing calcium deposits in the arteries. And some studies have even shown it can reverse arterial calcification. And that's a big deal. That's a hard thing to do. And I have some information on that if you want to look at the description in the article below that has some research on that. Now, vitamin K2 can also help form strong bones, help the skin stay healthy, prevent wrinkles, sagging skin, and varicose veins. Vitamin K2 is really necessary for vitamin A to do its job, which one of vitamin A's jobs is to help it maintain proper skin cell and the skin cells, and it also helps your eyes. And you have to have vitamin K2 for vitamin A to work. Dr. Weston Price talked extensively about the role of K2 in tooth health and helping to keep teeth from having cavities, and helping, with all different kinds of dental problems where they deposit calcium into the enamel. And it's interesting to me that even brain health can be improved by eating more vitamin K rich foods. And these types of foods that have vitamin K in them have been shown to sharpen your memory, starve off dementia in older adults, and keep you healthier longer. Okay, so the immune system is greatly enhanced from vitamin K2. And specifically, it fights inflammation in the body, which is so important to staying healthy and living a healthier life. It also strengthens your immune cells, allows you to fight off pathogens better, and it keeps I noticed when we started having these types of foods, this was the very beginning when I found cultured foods, and we were having more things that had vitamin K2 in it, everybody stopped getting colds and flus. And I remember that things were healing better. Like if there was, a cut or an infection on the skin, I noticed, especially with my youngest, my daughter Holly, who was really little at the time, everything got better for her. Everything healed faster. She stopped having problems. And I really and even my husband, that was a time when he had cataracts, and he was getting a rapidly growing cataract, and he was a pretty young man at the time. I think he was 39 or 40, and it stopped dead in its tracks. And he was drinking kombucha and eating kefir, and I noticed that I think he was using the vitamin A in his body better because it just stopped, and he never had to have surgery on it. And it was an interesting thing. I know he was absorbing nutrients better because a lot of things went away. His joint pain went away. Everything got better. That was in the very beginning when I found cultured foods. And we had started drinking raw milk too. and things like that. And I noticed that everything's changed so dramatically for my family. That was the reason I continued to do it, because every single person started having health benefits from it that I didn't even know were problems on some of the family members, and everybody was getting better. And it's hard to know exactly what's going on inside the body, but these foods, the cultured foods that have a lot of vitamin K2 in them, we were consuming on a much more regular basis. And I think we were just getting healthier and healthier. And from that day to this, we've continued to eat them with great success. So it's clear that vitamin K plays an essential role in so many body functions. And, the tremendous help that is given to my family has been so, I felt so grateful for it. And I always try to be, I always try to add these types of foods into our diet. It's been so easy. And what I've noticed is that the grocery bills go down because people get more nutrients from their food. They're more satisfied. And I make a lot of raw cheeses, a lot myself, because it's fun for me. It's easy. I found an easy way to do it. And I even made ebooks on how to use these raw cheeses that if you're a Body Pro member, I give those out. I also have some free ones on my site if you want to check them out. And on this article, all these cheeses that I'm sharing with you on here, they're all free for you to look at. And I make these raw cheeses and I put them in soups, salad dressings, and it's been a lot of fun, and it's been an adventure to make these homemade cheeses. They last longer, they taste better, and I want to share with you some of these probiotic raw cheeses that I love and are easy to make that will give you more access to vitamin K2. And I have 3 of them, and I'm going to teach you how to make them. And if you go to the description below and go to the article, you'll see recipes for all of them that are free for everybody. And the first one I have on there is Creme fraiche, which is, it's a very big cheese in France. People use it all the time. It's added to soups and recipes to infuse them with flavor. It also helps them thicken them. And you get for every spoonful, you get about 2% of the calcium you need in a day. And it helps with strong bones and teeth, but it plays a role in your heart health, your muscles. And you also get about 8% or 15% of the vitamin A you need in a day. Now, it only has like 1 carb if you're on a keto diet, so you can have it too if you do that. But I really encourage you to make your own, because if you make your own, and it's super easy, guys. Basically how you make it is you have a little culture, and you put it in some milk, and you put it in. Well, I think you can use like half and half or cream because it's very dense, or you can even use regular milk, but it'll be thinner. And you put this little culture in. After you you heat it to 85 degrees because you don't want to kill the enzymes and you don't want to kill the probiotics. And then you put that culture in that's going to add more probiotics. You stir it for 15 seconds and then you let it sit for 12 hours, and then you have Creme fraiche. And it's a lot better for you than the stuff at the store because it actually has probiotics in it, whereas a lot of those are pasteurized. And oh gosh, it is so yummy. It is so good and super easy to make. I love it. I put it in a lot of different things and I use a lot of dips with it, but I also put it in everyday items too. You only need a little tiny bit to get like a spoonful, guys, is like huge amounts of vitamin K2. Even a teaspoon is a lot of it. So a little goes a long way. Okay, the second one I want to tell you about is chèvre, which is goat cheese, which is, oh my gosh, I love this stuff. My daughter, Holly, when she was little, loved it too. She's always been a goat cheese fan. But the reason I like goat cheese, chèvre cheese, which is so easy to make, is because goat cheese has properties in it that are medium chain fatty acids. And they promote, satiety. They even help with weight loss. I have an article on that you can check the article below for that. But since goat cheese has more medium chain fatty acids than cow's milk, these fats are rapidly broken down and absorbed by the body and are less likely to be stored as fat. They're used more like fuel. They burn more like a carbohydrate than they do a fat. So goat milk also contains caprylic acid, which I love because this is also that medium chain fatty acid that is antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, and it's also antifungal. So it also helps kill candida. And one of the studies that I found that I thought was super interesting is that this particular these caprylic acids, it's also effective in combating P. acne, which is a specific type of bacteria that increases inflammation and causes acne. So it's also very helpful in controlling that. So, and that, guys, that's as easy to make as the creme fraiche. And I have all the instructions and how to do it, and it is to die for. I love it. I like, especially around Christmas, I like to roll my goat cheese in orange zest or in nuts or in herbs, and we use it and eat it at the meals. It's such a good thing. It's got probiotics in it. You'll love it. It's so good for you. But even just by the fact that it has those medium chain fatty acids in it, it has got that X factor in it that is so good for you. And it's less allergic than regular cheeses. Goat's milk naturally is that way. It's more, it doesn't have the proteins in it that other milk does. So it's a great one for people who want to avoid that. Okay, and the last one is Kefir cheese, which is the most powerful cheese you can eat. It has, 50 to 60 probiotics in it, and more than any other fermented dairy product, yogurt, or any other product, this one has the most probiotics. And a lot of the other foods that, any kind of, fermented foods like cheeses don't have the good yeast in them like kefir does, because we need good yeast too. We don't talk about that very much, but we need to, because you are bacteria and yeast, and you need good yeast in your body. And one of the most powerful things about kefir is that it has that in it as well as bacteria. So it really helps balance out things like candida and other yeast that want to take over, that are opportunistic, that want to take over your gut and cause a lot of havoc. They basically overgrow their boundaries and shouldn't. And kefir cheese really helps with that. Certain probiotics that are actually in kefir are believed to protect against infections. And there's some unique bacteria that are unique to kefir that they show that they can inhibit the growth of various harmful bacteria like Salmonella, H. pylori, and E. coli. And they can help prevent that and keep the body in check and keep those pathogens from, getting a foothold. And there are certain strains of kefir that have different things in them than any other cheeses, because they have antibacterial qualities and anti-inflammatory properties, but they are very, very, very powerful in restoring gut flora. And that is something that is hard to do with other cheeses because they don't have the different diversity of bacteria in them. So this is my podcast on cheese, because you don't need a lot of it. You just need small amounts. I mean, even a teaspoon is going to give you a ton of vitamin K2, which is really exciting to me. And because it's such a delicious food, there's been a lot of studies done on different types of Romo cheeses, and even on like Gouda cheese, which is loaded with vitamin K2. All of these things can really help the body in a way that is different from other foods. And you don't need a lot of it, but it is delicious. It's fun to make. I teach you how to make all of these different cheeses, and there's a lot more that I could teach you, but I didn't want to overwhelm you. So if you head to the description below in the link, I'll send you the article, and on there at the very bottom, you'll see all the different cheeses on how to make them. And guys, it is really easy. It's not as hard as you think. Kefir is super easy to make. You basically make some kefir, and then you line a coffee filter with you line a strainer with a coffee filter, and you pour the kefir in it, and you just put plastic wrap on it, put in your fridge, and let it strain overnight. And next day you have cheese. That's how simple it is. It's delicious. It's fun. I do it all the time. It replaces so many things in my house, like sour cream cheese. I use it all the time for all those different recipes, and my family really enjoys it, and we have a lot of fun with it. And I think I have 43 recipes for kefir cheese on my website, and I'll have to put that in the link description below too. Anyway, well, thank you guys for listening. Subscribe, hit the subscribe button if you'd like to get these in your inbox every week. I really appreciate it, guys. I enjoy talking with you about the things that have changed my life. Have a great week, guys, and we will see you next